Coming up on FRC Recap, the World Championship for Rapid React is here. It's been 3 years, but we're back, and we're here to give you previews and predictions about all 6 divisions that will take place at the Houston Championship. We also have some chairman's predictions. Of course, if you're watching live, a couple giveaways from our friends at AndyMark and the Thrifty Bot, all coming up here on FRC Recap Championship Edition. Your destination for first content, updates, and gaming.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now is supported by Stryker Careers. If you are a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many first alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com. First Updates Now is supported by Kettering University. Kettering University hosts 3 co-op employment fairs each year for incoming and current students. Participating in the co-op employment process at Kettering is a great way to begin turning your robotics experience into a professional career to earn money towards graduating debt-free. If you are a senior, it's not too late to apply at kettering.edu/apply. Welcome to FRC Recap Houston Championship previews and predictions. I'm your host, Tyler Olds. It's been a long road, but we're back for championships. I can't wait. I'm flying out tomorrow myself with over 450 teams being dispersed over 6 different divisions. We've had a correspondent assigned to each division to give you a preview and prediction of what is to come. So let's break down how this is going to go. We'll introduce our correspondents. They're on screen in just a second as well. But for divisions, what we're going to do, they're going to be covered in alphabetical order. We have 2 sets of 3 hosts that will be coming on screen to talk about each one as well. And we'll have some open discussion after each host is done talking about their division. Each division will have 3 types of teams that are going to be overviewed. So first off, we have our locks. Each host will pick between 1 to 3 teams that are locked in to be our top seeds for a division, at least in their opinion. We'll see how the discussions go for that. Contenders, 3 to 5 teams that are in contention for the top 8 or could be a high first round pick. And then dark horses, you're going to see 2 to 3 teams that probably don't get enough attention or are not well known and could surprise you with maybe a top 8 ranking or a high seed pick, that sort of thing. And of course, a big thing to mention, there are so many teams, of course, at the championships that there's going to be teams left out of what the hosts predict. You're probably going to agree with some. You're definitely going to disagree with some. I can tell you that as we go through. And that's what this great discussion is going to be, talking about which teams you think will be in the top ones. So if you're watching live, type in chat. If you're watching on YouTube afterwards, let us know what you think we missed as well, too. Let's introduce our correspondents for the first half. Covering Carver is going to be Zach. Covering Galileo will be Nick Jr. And covering Hopper will be Griffin. So as mentioned, we're going to have our 3 correspondents cover these divisions, and then we'll take a little bit of break. We have a couple giveaways, of course, if you're watching live as well, too. So, of course, thanks for your insight on the 3 divisions. Can't wait to hear more about it. Let's start with the first one here. Zach, you're going to be covering the Carver division. Give us a bit more on what's going on in Carver.
So the Carver division features 76 total teams with an average OPR of 32.54. placing it second to last in average OPR among the 6 divisions. Do not let this one stat make you think Carver is weak, however, as it is chock full of tough contenders who would all take a shot at the top seed. Supplemented with a deep pool of competitive robots. This division's last appeared in the Einstein Finals in 2018 and last won the World Championship in 2016. Let's take a look at who will be representing Carver in this year's competition. 2 teams have set themselves ahead above the rest throughout district and regional play and placed themselves as certain locks for the division. The first of these is 1323 Madtown Robotics from Moderna, California. The 2019 World Champions are looking to capture the same magic they did 3 years ago. With an OPR of 79.4 and ELO of 2085, ranking first in the world, this 2-time regional winner excels at all aspects of the game, touting not only a 5-ball auto, but also incredibly consistent shooting from anywhere on the field. Combined with a 10 to 12 second traversal climb, 1323 is certainly a favorite to be competing on Einstein. Throughout their play, they got better and better against defense, a skill that will be put to the test this week. Their turret allows quick shots from all around the field, an attribute that helped them capture blue banners at both Monterey Bay and Central Valley. Madtown will be a team that the watcher does not have to keep an eye out for. They'll certainly make themselves known. The second lock for the Carver division can be found in 1690 Orbit. A mainstay of the 1st Israel District, this team made waves earlier in the season by racking up multiple world record scores. With an OPR of 80.5, ELO of 2056, good for second in the world, and 3 blue banners under their belt this year, 1690 will be a tour de force in Carver. Their turret swerve configuration allows from shots from anywhere, and using this mobility, they zip all across the field. Preferring to score in bursts before moving to another place on the field, they are a headache for opposing defenses. Their traversal climber has sub 10-second capability, skipping the high rung entirely. However, their usual strategy employed their alliance partners climb while they drain shot after shot, something that may have to change with the increased competition in Houston. As a scoring force, 1690 should not be questioned, as they will be right there with 1323 for the top seed. The next tier of teams we see are our contenders, who are led by none other than 179 Children of the Swamp from Riviera Beach, Florida. 179 made their way throughout the Gulf this season, winning 3 blue banners along the way, the South Florida, Orlando, and Bayou Regionals. With an OPR of 55.6, this team has had incredibly consistent play this season, as they started well and kept the momentum going in each regional, evident from their 3 wins. With a 5-ball capable auto starting them off ahead above, 179 does not take their foot off the gas, dropping shots from anywhere on the field. Though the most visually impressive part may be their traversal climb, employing a monkey bar strategy to swing themselves up the bars. Compound this impressive play with a deep pool of experienced students and mentors, 179 should be a strategy king, using every trick in the book to help their team move up the ranks. Look out for this green and black machine as it auto, shoots, and climbs its way to a top spot in Carver. Our next contender for Carver is 870 Team Rice from Southold, New York. While they started off the season less than stellar, placing 7th at their first regional and being bounced in the semis, 870 then went on to bounce back, completing the Long Island sweep, winning both the Long Island Regional number 1 and number 2. With an OPR of 58 and ELO of 1904, they cemented themselves as a top team in the latter part of the season. Favoring the outside the zone shot characteristic of top teams, 870 set themselves apart with their incredible accuracy, almost never missing a single cargo, no small feat in this game. Through a combination of agility, turret shooting, and smart shot selection, if 870 lets it fly, expect it to go in no matter the defense. The one drawback is their lack of traversal climb, as the team maxes out at the high rung. However, don't let this dissuade you from thinking of 870 as a top team, as they will definitely be making themselves known in Carver. 987 High Rollers from Las Vegas, Nevada are another team that have made a name for themselves in this Rapid React season. This Hall of Fame team has been a force throughout the year, racking up an OPR of 51.9 and ELO of 1,883. Supplementing their 5-ball auto, 987 takes a unique approach at teleop, choosing to outstrength their defenders instead of maneuvering around them. This incredibly sturdy bot was the epitome of the touch it, own it strategy, with one of the most effective intakes in all of Houston. However, the best attribute 970 employed throughout the year was their climber. This traversal machine was an absolute joy to watch, as it articulated and swiveled its way across the bars. Not only was it effective, like the rest of the robot, it was robust, withstanding interruptions to the climb, but still completing it for full points. With a regional win and finalists captured this season, I am sure that 987 is not satisfied and will be gunning for a top spot. The next addition to the Carver contenders is 2046 Bare Metal from Maple Valley, Washington. As one of the most decorated Carver teams entering Houston, this 4-time district winner has an OPR of 53.6 and ELO of 1855. This black and yellow robot solidified itself as top of the pack in the Pacific Northwest District through high maneuverability and a lot of shooting. Coming into Houston as one of the most experienced teams, having already played 74 total matches so far this year, 2046 offers a perspective like no other, a view born of many, many matches of Rapid React. Although they struggled a bit with consistency throughout the year, dropping 1 or 2 quality matches due to mechanical factors, this is something they cannot do while facing a field this deep. However, the 4 blue banners they are hoisting from this year alone prove that 2046 certainly belongs among these other top teams. Rounding out our contenders is Team 4635 Prepatec Botbusters, hailing from Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, Mexico. With 3 regional wins and only losing 2 matches throughout the entire season, 4635 made themselves known as the top team in Mexico and contended for the same title in the southern U.S. With an OPR of 49.1 and ELO of 1881, their play may not be the prettiest in the world, but boy is it effective. This robot's large footprint allows it to be a physically imposing presence on the field, pushing defenders out of the way to hoist up accurate high shots. Complementing this is their traversal climb, allowing them to rack up RP in the qualification matches and be an ideal partner in the playoffs. Do not sleep on 4635, for I'm sure it's a number you're going to be hearing throughout the week in the Carver division. It would be unbecoming of me not to mention a couple of dark horses that are flying under the radar, but have a chance to make some absolute waves in the Carver division. The first of these is 59 Ramtech from Miami, Florida. 59 is a storied history, but had a rocky start to their Rapid React season. After placing 14th and 17th in their first 2 regionals, this team came out with a bang for the Rocket City Regional, placing second and bringing home the blue banner without losing a single match. With an OPR of 53.3 and ELO of 1671, this team has had big improvements throughout the season and should not be treated lightly. With a late season addition of a 5-ball auto and an incredibly consistent traversal climb, 59 has all the makings of a top team, so don't be surprised if they creep up the rankings throughout qualification play. Our second dark horse to look out for is 5199 Robot Dolphins from Outer Space from San Juan, California. Not only do they have the best name in the entire division, and maybe all of Houston, they also tout an OPR of 47 and an ELO of 1740. Although they found themselves making deep playoff runs in their first 2 regionals, it wasn't until the Aerospace Valley Regional when they broke through, placing first and bringing home the blue banner. This tall bot seems somewhat inconspicuous until they start splashing high cargo right over the defender, supplemented with an extremely fast climb. While it took 5199 a bit of the season to get going, if they continue to fire on all cylinders, keep an eye out for them to make a deep run in the Carver division. Now, my predictions for the Carver division is that our favorite, 1323, should be on to watch to take the top spot. However, as a bold take, I would expect 179 to be ranked number 1 at the end of qualification. Keep a special eye out for our match schedule. This division is so deep that it may come down to factors such as that. Expect our top teams to have a RP score of nearly 4, if not exactly 4, as the cargo and hangar RP should be achieved basically every match. With teams so even, auto could be a deciding factor, so teams with 5-ball autos have a better chance of ranking top, which is one of the factors why I pick 179 to win the Carver division.
All right. Well, you heard it from Zach there, and of what potential predictions are going to be. We'll kind of do a quick roundtable, and this is your opportunity, Chad, if you want to agree or disagree with our hosts through here. I think they've all been preparing themselves a little bit to have some critiques on what it is. Nick Jr., why don't we start with you? How do you feel about this division? Any other teams that should be mentioned?
Yeah, so overall, I think Zach pretty much nailed it. I know that we were talking a little bit of pre-show, but I personally am going to be surprised if 1323 and 1690 pair up. I just think that I think 1323 and 179 complement each other very well compared to 1690 and 1323. And again, that's nothing against either of those teams. You know, they're both going to end up in the finals, in my opinion. But I think 1323 and 179 would be scary personally. And 1323 is really good. You know, and Zach mentioned it as well. They won a world championship with the Cheesy Poos a couple years ago, and I think they're kind of going to be hungry and want another one here. And I think they have the opportunity to do so coming out of this division.
Griffin, how about you? What are your thoughts on the Carver division?
Yeah, definitely with the Carver division, I think Zach has more or less hit the nail on the head that if 1323 or 179 get to the top spot, it's very likely that they pick one another because, like from what I'm seeing, that 1690 doesn't necessarily want to always climb to the traversal, even though they can. So that may possibly scare people off from them. So if their hesitation on doing stuff like that, or like not working with the alliance on different stuff, that may spook teams to possibly pick them. Whereas while they'll still probably be 1, 2, or 3, it's very possible they won't be picked by number 1.
Yeah, just really quick, wanted to correct myself too. 1323 beat 254 in 2019 for the championship, not with them. So
Gotcha.
Just wanted to correct myself on that. But my point still stands. I think Griffin made a good point too about 1690 has the ability to go to the traversal, and I've seen them do it. But in the matches that I've gotten to catch, they really prefer not to. And I think that may be a deciding factor. If 1323 or 179 is in one, they might want to pick each other for that sense. But
a couple quick things on my end to mention. I'll mention the elephant in the room that 1114 was not mentioned in this. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's the right call for this. Nothing against 1114, but they're definitely not at the, I think, elite tier that many of us expect them to be. So when we're only talking about, in that top tier lock and contender area, and we're only talking a few teams in that, I'm not sure if they feel if they're going to go into that category for that. So I don't necessarily see them being picked by a number 1 or number 2 seed with the depth of this. A couple other teams I'll mention real quick on here. 2451 Ponage, who has 3 finalists and got in with their EI. Excited to see what they're able to bring to the table. And then I had one other team off the top of my head. I forgot. 6421 Warrior Bots is a huge dark horse to me. They're a team that's come and won 2 regional events and were Alliance captains in their first one as well too. So some interesting takes, no doubt. I'm so high on 1690 personally. I think they have a great opportunity to take the number 1 seed or win, but it will be interesting to see how this all breaks down. So like I said, again, chat, let us know what your thoughts are in regards to the Carson division. Some other great teams, of course. Bomb Squad wasn't mentioned at all. 690.
Carson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carver. Yep. Bomb Squad was not mentioned in Carver and a couple others as well too that were in that. Circuit Breaker 696. Another great team. And I'm sure there's many more that we didn't mention as well too. So nice job, Zach. Overall, and let's keep moving on to our next division, which is going to be I just set it up. Thank you. Nick Jr. is going to be covering Galileo on this one. So Nick Jr., tell us a little bit more about Galileo and what it has to bring.
Yeah, so just a quick little note if you don't have any background about who Galileo was. He was an astronomer from the 1500s, was known for studying speed, velocity, gravity, and free fall, and is one of the scientists that is really known for the principle of physics. Galileo was also one of the scientists that discovered the craters on the moon. So just a quick neat fact.
Look at you with all these extra facts coming in.
Yeah,
man.
I wanted to throw a little bit in. But interesting to note, Galileo has not won the World Championship since 2013. And when they did, it was 2 Canadian teams, 610 Crescent Coyotes and 1241 Theory 6, pairing up with 1477, who is Texas Torque. So it's been almost 10 years since Galileo has won the division, and that was in the game Ultimate Ascent. But this division this year has a lot of great teams that could make some noise. And we'll go ahead and start off with my first lock, and it's nobody other than the Cheesy Poofs. We did not see them compete in 2020, except at, but they've been to 2 regionals this year, and they've lost only 1 match. And it was by 1 point to 1678. They went to the Sacramento Regional, ranked number 1, and won that event with 1678. They went to the Silicon Valley Regional, did lose a match, ranked number 1 with 1678, and won the event again. So they're my lock to be ranked number 1. If they don't have a 4-point ranking score, I will blame the match schedule in this sense. I think that this team, really has it all put together. I think they're scoring a ton of cargo and tally up. The climber that they have has been improved and looks really good. So again, I'm going to say it again. If they don't have a 4-point ranking score, I personally will be disappointed. But I really expect 254 to take that first spot and really have the pick of who they want from there. Lock number 2 that I have is 1619 Upper Creek Robotics. They are from Colorado, and if I'm correct, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but they are the only team left in the world that is undefeated. They have a perfect record, 35-0. They went to the Oklahoma Regional, ranked number 1, and picked 45-22 and 31-60 to win that regional. They went to the Colorado Regional in week 4, ranked number 1 again, and picked 13-39 and 49-44 to win that regional. So To pair with the Cheesepoos being undefeated in 2018, I think Upper Creek is probably the next best team in this division. They have a lot of experience being in that high a caliber of an event. And also, I think the robot's really good this year. It's shown various times that it can compete with the big dogs, and I fully expect them to be, in the top 5, if not that second spot. And I more than likely think that they're probably the favorite for 254 to pick. But a third team that I'm going to mention here is going to be 364 Team Fusion. 364 went to Electric City and Bayou and ranked number 2 at Electric City and number 3 at Bayou, and was in the finals both times and unfortunately lost. This team did almost not qualify for the championship due to the reduced number of championship slots at the regionals, but they weren't going to take no for an answer. They competed at week 5 in Bayou and lost in the finals, and then the next week got home, packed everything back up, and traveled over to Rocket City in Huntsville, Alabama, and won that event as the number 1 seed. With 59 and 39-59. 364 is 44-8 on the year. I think that this team was going to be one of the main teams that I use as an example of how unfortunate the championship slot situation was this year for this team almost not making the championship. They've proven over and over again that they have a championship caliber robot. And I fully expect them, if in my opinion, it's either 254 in 1619 or 254 in 364 to pair up on that number 1 seed. And I think that both 1619 and 364 complement 254 well, and I think that will make for some fun elimination matches. Going into a couple contenders that I have that I expect to rank in the top 8 or possibly mix up, who 254 could pick depending on how the data lies. 1771 North Gwinnett Robotics from Sewanee, if I pronounce that right, Georgia. They're one of the teams that I personally haven't seen a ton because they're in Peachtree, but they are ranked number 1 in district points through the Peachtree event. They're 50-4 on the year, and they've also won every single event that they've been to. Won the Dalton district with 87-36 and 67-12. Won the Carlton event with 87-36 again in 88-49, and won the Peachtree District Championship with 29-74. So this team has again shown that they can compete with the big dogs. I believe they are a swerve and turret robot, so another team to complement 254 possibly, as they are also a swerve and turret robot. And I personally haven't seen a ton of them this year because they're from Georgia, and I haven't got a chance to really take a look into that. But they've shown from the matches that I've been able to watch that, again, they're right up there with some of the big teams, and they can compete. Moving on to my contender number 2 is 3476. That's code Orange. They attended the Orange County Regional and were ranked number 1 and won the event with 987, the High Rollers. They then traveled over to Los Angeles in week 5 and were ranked number 2 and won that event with 696. And they are 31-2-1 on the year. And I've loved Code Orange for a couple of years now, but I think the overtime climb when it was still legal at the video that they posted on Chief Delphi was super entertaining. And this team really knows, again, how to compete at a high level. And they're really going to make the Galileo division interesting. I think that this is one of the teams that could possibly surprise people and maybe end up ranking 1 and really mixing up my top 3 contenders on what those are going to look like. And so we'll go ahead and jump to my next contender. That's going to be 1756 Argos from Peoria, Illinois. They went to the Central Illinois Regional and won with 111 Wildstang. And they went to the St. Louis Regional and won with 1706. This is another team that has really shown great things throughout the year. And I fully expect them again to be in one of those top ranks. They are currently 30-5 on the year. So again, multiple of these teams that I'm mentioning have less than 5 losses, and they've been to 2 or 3 or more events on that. But I fully expect them to be a contender. And an interesting thing is if they are one of those teams that might end up on the 3 or 4 seed and get a better third robot, I think that this team really could assemble a great alliance that might be able to take on the number 1 because they're going to get the better third robot. Personally, and I know I spoke about this on the district championship recap last night, but I fully see triple offense being the meta here at the championship. And I think that some of the number 3 and 4 seeds are going to get a better third offensive robot, and that really might be the difference moving into these events. Final contender that I have for this division is nobody other than Team 118, the Robonauts from League City, Texas. They were winners of the First in Texas District Channelview event and were finalists at the Irving event and won the Bayou Regional with Team 179. The Robonauts are currently 56-11 on the year. I know that they had some issues to start the year with some software, but moving into the Texas Championship, I thought that they had gotten their a lot of software lined out. Still some room for improvement, but they're the Robonauts. They always are willing to iterate and move forward, and I fully expect them to possibly surprise some people here in the Galileo division. I have 2 teams listed for a dark horse that I think have really shown that they can surprise some people. And one team that a lot of people have not mentioned or might not be aware of because they're a small team in Michigan, 3175 Night Vision. This team I've personally gotten to see 3 times now at the Rochester District, the Macomb District, and at the Michigan State Championship. And they're a swerve fender robot shooter, fender as in being directly on the hub. And easily this is the best robot this team has built. But in my opinion, if they don't seed high, could be easily selected as a third offensive robot to also complement if they needed to play defense. Again, they're on swerve. So the driver that they have, Cooper, is very well trained in all this. He's probably one of the best drivers that I've seen in Michigan this year. And I fully expect Night Vision to possibly surprise some people. They're 27-18 on the year, have not made the finals in either of their events this year. In and Macomb, I thought they really had the opportunity, but unfortunately their alliance partner had some issues and caused them to get bounced in the quarters and had a very, very rough match schedule at the Michigan State Championship and put up a fight against the number 1 seed that they were playing. So fully expect Night Vision to possibly surprise some people in this division of Galileo. And the final team that I'm going to mention here is 2841, the Roboteers, as a dark horse. Roboteers are from Tremont, Illinois, and they are currently 42-11-1 on the year. Similar with 364 Team Fusion, Roboteers almost didn't qualify for the championship. They were the finals at Central Illinois with 2451 Ponage. They were the finals at the St. Louis Regional with 4143 Mars. And again, that the St. Louis Regional was week 5, and they didn't want to take no for an answer. They packed up shop, headed down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and won the Greene County Regional with 1986. This team is the one that surprised a lot of people, and they posted on Chief Delphi with the ability to move to that triple traversal by taking up inches on the bar by using the truss to their advantage. And this might be a team that although I don't know that the triple traversal will be necessary, but given how easy it is to do the triple traversal with 2481, because the 2 other robots can be climbed and they can do it out of everybody's way. It might make things interesting because that's another 15 points that possibly could be added. Ultimately, my prediction for this division, 254 is going to seed number 1, and they are going to select 1619 Up Creek Robotics to take the Galileo division.
All right, thanks a lot, Nick Jr. on that, and that's Galileo once again. I'll, of course, do a quick roundtable with our other correspondents and chat. Let us know what you think as well, too. Zach, let's start with you. How are you feeling about Galileo?
I think Galileo is shaping up to be a really fun division to watch. I would personally pick 1619 to be my top team. Well, I don't think we're going to see another undefeated champion anytime soon, especially this year. I do think that they will seed first and then select 254 in that order.
I just want to give a quick correction. 2481 was the team I was mentioning, Roboteers.
Cool. All right, Griffin, how are you feeling about this division?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything other than that scenario happening of like 1619 or 254 ending up at the top and then them picking each other. And then I would also say with how deep this field is, it's going to be really interesting to see how elims go because some of these teams could easily give them a run for their money. I will have to say, when you talked about the triple offense strategy, I don't know how well that will work because of the fact that starvation is a thing that we saw at Chesapeake that impacted the teams who tried that really hard. So yes, it may be a good situation in certain times, but I don't know if full triple offense is necessarily the play to go, especially when when you're trying to contest some teams that will most certainly outscore you if all 3 are left uncontested.
Looking at at what you just said there, Griffin. I think the interesting thing will be is just like who's left in many cases, right? Because if you get somebody that scores well enough as a third pick, we did see some of this happen at MSC where it is is possible. But on the other hand, we also saw some alliances fail that way too with that. So it'll be very interesting to see. Just a couple quick notes for me. 2041, I don't really feel like they're a dark horse personally. I think they're maybe a wild card would be a better. I know somebody posted in chat. I think that's a great way. And if you describe them as that, I totally agree with that. A couple of our teams in Galileo, 694 Stipules to me is a contender in that division for sure. And then just a couple others mentioned. How about a couple Michigan teams too, Nick? Bedford Express, who I know kind of very up and down, right? So they could be an interesting wild card.
Yeah, they could surprise a ton of people coming into this week. I know they had a rough MSC to start, but they were killing it at the beginning of the year, shooting more teleop balls than anybody else in the state. So.
And then lastly, Aluminum Falcons coming out of New England area as well too. Another team that I think has a great potential. They go through our, once again, there's going to be teams that we miss on this, but overall very well done. And let's keep moving on to our next division. We're going to bring Griffin in to talk more about Hopper.
All right. Well, ever since Hopper's introduction to the championship lineup in 2015, it has been up and down for like who comes off of Hopper. So of course in 2015 they were second place. They lost out unfortunately to Lemonade Cowboy Alliance, but then in 2016 again, we saw the first coming of Darth Lemons, as I call them, which is 148 Robo Wranglers and 1678 Citrus Circuits. And here they got knocked out in semis of 2016 District Champs, but they put up an impressive showing in the process. And then in 2017 they were fourth, which understandable from who they had to face. They had to face team like 973, the Greybots, and all of those. But then, of course, in 2018, Hopper came up with the undefeated champ, 254 and 148. And then in 2019, they placed fifth with Bare Metal and Taters. And so it's just a weird, interesting, like up, down that you see with a lot of teams. Looking at the teams that are on here, we're going to see a lot of potential for high scoring and very much a potential to contest with, say, like the 254, 1619 potential. Definitely first top at the lock is 1678 Citrus Circuits. Like I said before, they have been on this field multiple times and they have done really well with it. And looking at their pedigree so far, it is evident that they are the team to watch out for on this field. Like winning 2 times with 254, and like often being the one that scores more than 254, and then also add on that they are just like constantly hounding after the balls, and like they have the auto routines that can mix in not only getting multiple balls for them, but then also throwing their opponent's balls away into their own hangar. So that allows for even more potential to slow down the opponents and increase your potential. And then the other team at the top spot is, of course, 148 Robo Wranglers, which nobody should be a stranger to this team because they have a pedigree that lists longer than probably anything else in the world. Like again, they've won on Hopper before. They have been shooting extremely well this year. Like they've been doing a really good traversal, of course, with the Passover system. I would say that they are not necessarily at the best shooter in the field, but with their pedigree alone and the fact that they can still put up a whole lot of points tells me that they are in a lock for that top spot no matter what. Next on the list I have is 2992 SS Prometheus. Now, not a lot of people have heard of this team that comes from Louisiana, but I feel like that they're ones that are definitely looking to hold the top spot. They can traverse well. They have a great auto routine. The only thing holding them back is that they often do what they misfire their first shot. So as in, it gets to their wheel too early before it's fully powered up to shoot, and then they just like sort of limp shots it. So that hurts some of their cycle routines. But if they're able to get it to where that to where their intake and their shooting does not do that, then they could be very, very dangerous and potentially upset the top spot. And then now looking at the next slot of teams is definitely contenders. My first contender, of course, is 35-38 Robo Jackets. Like we saw, this team is not a stranger to being in the eliminations, as in 2019 they came from the stacked Curie field and were very, very close to being in the top 2 in 2019. And looking at how they've been scoring in Michigan this year, they are in no doubt wanting to repeat that this year. Like they not only won their division at the Michigan State Championships, but they also were able to get to the finals of the Michigan State Champs itself, and were so close to beating Team Rush and Ninja Nerds. So it's going to be very much a potential for them to upset any sort of combinations at the top. Our next contender looking at this is, of course, 27-67 Strike Force. Like, another team that has really, really come up in the recent years, and it's due to the fact that they have just one of the best swerve bots in most recent years. I will say, however, that their swerve has started to get outmatched by the fact that everybody seems to have swerved this year, especially everybody that is on a hopper. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to keep up with what Hopper is bringing to the field, especially since looking at their scores so far, they rarely have been making above 100 in elims. So if that continues on, it is going to be pretty hard for them to keep their top spot. But it is very possible that they can just blow everybody out the park and take that top spot from us. Next up on the list we have is 624 Kryptonite. 624 Kryptonite coming out of Texas. They won the Mercury Division at Texas State Championships with Spectrum, and they did it as they had repeated with a district event previously. Now, they have a 6-ball auto routine. There are very few teams in the world that can produce that routine. Granted, they won't be producing it every time, but the fact that they have it in their back pocket is a huge threat, especially since if they have teammates that lose their auto routines. I will say, however, that they don't necessarily have the best teleop routine, and that's where they're going to be lacking. But if they're able to get those shots down and get them more consistent, then they could easily be a first pick or even a captain that takes it off. Next up is 177 Bobcat Robotics. Again, another team not unfamiliar to being a captain or a first pick. They come from New England with a very, very strong pedigree, only losing out after winning the Calcium Division, aka the Milk Division, and losing out to their old partner 176 Aces High. So this will be definitely a team to watch out for. If anything, look for them to be a high captain or high first pick, and definitely give the other seeds a run for their money. Next up we have is 2202 Beast Robotics. Beast Robotics are definitely come in as a strong contender, as they have won 2 events so far, the Wisconsin Regional and the 10,000 Lakes Minnesota Regional. Now, they definitely are. I've been watching their matches recently, and they just seem to be able to sink their shot from everywhere. It looks like they almost make some of the shots from just the wall of the Alliance Station. So being able to do that from anywhere on the field will definitely put them in a top spot for the eliminations. And then looking at our dark horses, first up I have from Israel 1574 Miskar. Miskar is definitely not the strongest bot here, but to look at their track record so far, the only time they've ever lost is when they're going up against Orbit in the eliminations. If Orbit was not every single event that they had to go to, they probably could have come away with a blue banner or 2. So I would definitely say that Miskar is a team to watch out for, because they have just been tempered on what they can do by a very, very strong team. Another dark horse to watch out for is like kind of a dark horse, but less in name and more in what I'm seeing from them, is 180 Spam. Of course, everybody knows who Spam is, but I think that they necessarily have not hit the full potential that their bot can hit. Yes, they have been able to win. Yes, they were able to pull away with a couple of blue banners, but I think that like we have not seen yet what fully Spam could do, especially since they got knocked out in the semis at the Smoky Mountains Regional. But if they are able to come back and right the wrongs that happened in the semis there, they could easily be up there with the rest of the teams. And the last one, last dark horse on my list, of course I have to shout out to a Chesapeake team. The only Chesapeake team in Hopper is Team 1111 Powerhawks Robotics, who hail from Maryland. Now, this team, not a lot of people are looking at because their stats are a little off, but that's because of the fact that like district championships was fraught of FMS problems due to the FTC event going on next door. With this out of the way, and the fact that they apparently have a traversal climber now in the works, it's very possible for them to run with their 4-ball auto routine and like sneak up against some of these teams. Like whether or not that they'll be at the high seed or if they'll be a low first pick, it's very questionable, but definitely watch out for them. Oh, and then my prediction for this is that I predict the Darth Lemonade Alliance coming back with 148 and 1678. However, I think if that forms, they're not going to be in the top 3 on Einstein.
Very interesting on there. And once again, speaking about Hopper division as we go through, we'll do a quick roundtable on this. I definitely have a couple thoughts, but I'd love to start out with our other correspondents first. Zach, why don't you take Hopper? Give us some of your thoughts.
For Hopper, I think this might be shaping up to be really the most fun, most interesting division that we're going to see throughout all of Houston. My personal pick, I'd pick 148 themselves to rank first. I think Texas saw some really good play this year that I think has shaped them and prepared them. You know, I think being familiar with the location also helps, and I think whatever it shakes out at the top we're gonna see some great pairings that have for some deep, interesting playoff matches.
Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a little bias in here, but I really think 1678 and 3538 are gonna be the pair up here. Only because I think I truly, you know, and bias aside, I really think that 3538 it might be better than 148 this year. Their traversal climber is one of the fastest in the world, and Tyler, I know you saw it this weekend at MSC too, but they can pull up at 10 seconds and be on the traversal.
I also saw 148 2 weeks ago, but
true, good point. But I think the combined shooting of 3538 with their new shooter that they've added and the extremely fast traversal climb paired with 1678 and their offensive firepower, I think that those two really could win the division here and really even make some noise on Einstein as well.
All right, Griffin, I'm only going to nitpick on one of your picks here. 2992, I have watched a bit. A contender, possibly. I don't feel they would be in a lock spot necessarily, but we'll see where they come from that. 2 teams I think that you all are sleeping on a lot. 1706, Ratchet Rockers have absolutely dominated both events they've been at so far and have actually done really well. You know, they're from the St. Louis, Missouri type area and have been doing absolutely phenomenal, even pre-COVID as well, too. And then 4911, the Cyber Knights, another team that from the PNW that have been doing really well and taking PNW champs as well, too. So great division to keep an eye out for, and great job to all of our correspondents covering these 3 divisions. Before we move on, a couple of things that we're going to be talking about. We have, of course, 3 more divisions to cover as well, but we're actually going to start our first giveaway from our friends at AndyMark. So if you are interested, let's talk a little about what AndyMark has to offer for that giveaway. And it's going to be the AM1 for You Family Axle Nut Holder Bundle. They're giving away 2 sets of this. This nut holder is perfect for capturing 3/8 to 16 nuts on axles of the AM14U family of chassis after assembly. This product makes wheel changes easy, especially when time is critical. So if you're interested in winning this giveaway, we're going to draw for it once we bring on our new hosts on here. The keyword is going to be Cybertooth, all one word, because our friends at Cybertooth who actually tested this, and we have friends that are from Annie Mark that helped mentor this team, just missed out on qualifying. They had an absolutely phenomenal robot out of Indiana. So let's give them some love. Type Cybertooth in chat right now for your opportunity to win, and we'll draw for that in just a couple minutes. So thanks a lot to our three correspondents coming on, Zach, Nick Jr., and Griffin, for covering the first three divisions. We'll be bringing on our next three correspondents, talk about Newton, Roebling, and Turing in just a little bit. And while we do that, we're just going to show you a couple quick ads from our sponsors, Milwaukee School of Engineering Summer Camps, and also Stryker Career. So we'll be right back in just a couple minutes, everybody. Stand by.
When I was considering where to go to college, one of the biggest things for me was figuring out how I was going to be able to pay for college. And it wasn't really until I came to Kettering to one of the Dog Days of Summer events that I figured out how I was going to be able to do that. And it was actually because of this senior chemical engineering student. She was getting ready to graduate, and she had told me about all of her phenomenal experiences, both on co-op and here on campus. But more importantly, she told me that she was going to graduate debt-free. And that was an eye-opener for me. That was the first time I'd ever heard that from a college student, and so that's when I knew that I was sold. So really from there, as soon as I came to Kettering, I knew that that was going to be my goal. I wanted to graduate debt-free. And I did that through a variety of ways. First, of course, the co-op experience was a tremendous help, but I even looked at ways to work here on campus. So I was a federal work study student. I worked in a variety of organizations, and that not only gave me the extra funds, but also different opportunities to meet people and understand our resources here at Kettering. Also looking at scholarships not only here at Kettering University, but even from my hometown and other sources, all of this cumulatively helped me to graduate debt-free.
I love working for Stryker.
I'm genuinely excited to come to work every day.
The minute you walk through that door, you know you are part of something special.
We support each other and look out for each other.
I love Stryker because we are like a family.
At Stryker, I own my career.
There are so many different places Stryker can take me in the next 5 years.
Noi crediamo che quello che facciamo è molto importante.
Together,
with our
Customers.
we are driven
To make
healthcare better.
Great people with a strong mission and values can accomplish great things together.
And we are back, everybody. Three new hosts coming in to talk about our next set of divisions as we go through. So once again, if you're just joining us, let's real quick just explain how our divisions are going to be recapped, or previewed, I should say, as we go through around here. So we have our three divisions going to be Newton, Roebling, and Turing, once again, in alphabetical order. Imagine that. So we have three different sets of teams you're going to hear about as we go through each one. We have our locks, which are 1 to 3 teams that our correspondents have chose that are going to, in their opinion, are the ones that are locked in to take those 1, 2, and 3 rankings, depending how many they have. We have our contenders, which are other teams that they feel will make the top 8. They'll list off 3 to 5 teams for that. And then our dark horses are meant to be those surprise teams that maybe you haven't heard of as much or wouldn't expect to necessarily make the top 8 or be a high pick by one of these teams. So give all these teams some love. And of course, as always, we're never going to be able to cover all the teams that are on here. So let us know in chat which ones you think we missed, which ones you think should be picked up. Let's go ahead and roll for our giveaway, by the way, from our friends at Annie Mark for the AM14U Family Axle Nut Holder Bundle. Once again, Cybertooth was the keyword for that. And our winner is going to be Infect Player, subscriber. Lots of rigged emotes in chat, please, because clearly we rigged it for our subscribers to win on this. But congratulations on that. Make sure you shoot us a message so we can get that sent out to you. By the way, if you won any giveaways in the last week or so, they will come after champs. So don't show up on their booth saying, "Hey, where's my giveaway?" or something like that, because they're probably going to look at you strange and weird on that. So let's introduce our 3 correspondents who are coming in. Covering Newton is going to be Grace. Covering Roebling is going to be Tassif, and covering Turing is going to be Steve. So, Grace, let's go into the Newton division. Tell us about all the teams that you feel are going to be taking those top spots with some locks.
Well, thanks, Tyler. The Newton Field, of course, is named after Isaac Newton. Legend has it that Newton was inspired to theorize about gravity when an apple fell from the tree. Now, I'm hoping we don't have a recreation of that with robots falling off the hanger, but who knows? It might inspire one of the students at the event to create the next great scientific theory. Well, I'm mostly joking about that. You might have missed the Newton division on your first look through when divisions were released. While Newton may not have a crazy amount of flashy household names, it has depth. And now, if you needed that on your bingo board, you can check that off because I've also said that tonight. Several teams in this division won every single one of their events this season, and I'm expecting playoffs to be very intense. If there ever was a scouting award to be given out, I think it would be titled the 2022 Newton Division Champion Award. As is common across most divisions, you'll see a lot of swerve here on Newton, so teams will be looking out for a second or third pick that can defend a swerve well while maintaining a robust machine. Let's talk a little bit more about the crazy firepower on this division, and rising to the top is none other than Team 27 Rush from Clarkston, Michigan. You know them as not only your Michigan State champions, but also the winner of every event they went to this season. They fielded a competitive swerve robot with no turret. It has a huge amount of flexibility in shooting position by using an adjustable hood. And it's not just the shooter on this robot. I timed their climbs at states as less than 10 seconds. Rush has built an overall stellar robot. They were dominant in their first competition, and their driver has just gotten better over the course of the season. Rush also has a history of going far at champs, even winning the North Championships in 2018, in addition, of course, to being a Hall of Fame team from 2014. They'll be using this awesome experience and a solid robot to help punch themselves a ticket to Einstein. Another lock is a team that's been making swerve their trademark. It's 2910 Jack in the Bot from Mill Creek, Washington in the PNW. They were also district champions and winners of all of their events this season. They bring a speedy swerve and fixed shooter robot to the division. Simple but effective, their tilt and reach climber is able to secure the last minute traversal, and they're as slippery as a bar of soap when it comes to dodging defense. They're no strangers to the spotlight either, finishing as finalists on Einstein in 2018. While many teams are new to swerve this year, 2910 has been honing theirs for years now, and I expect that to pay off big this weekend. And if you're interested, I'm sure they'll be running a swerve driving clinic throughout their qualification matches on the field this weekend. Another team sure to be a top seed is none other than 973 the Graybots from Atascadero, California. Being from California, they've had the unfortunate luck of being on the other side of the field from 254 and 1678 throughout the season. Finally, they pulled a blue banner with 1323 at their last event. Unlike the other teams I've mentioned, they bring in a tank-style drive that has significant pushing power. I never thought I'd be calling a standard tank drive uncommon, but on this field it really is. For 973, to make up for their limited mobility, they employ a turret. With this, they're able to pick and shoot from opposite sides, which speeds up their cycle time compared to some of their competitors. I also think it's important to mention that the last time we had Worlds, back in 2019, 973 came out on top on Newton that year as well, going on to win the whole thing. As the defending World and Newton champions, I think 973 has a great shot at making it off their division. As we look down the list of teams, there are definitely some contenders who really stand out and could end up securing a top seed or a strong first pick. First, 111 Wild Sting out of Arlington Heights, Illinois, who won both the Central Illinois and Midwest regionals with their tall swerve bot. Rocking the tie-dye, they have an effective fixed shooter with an adjustable hood and a speedy climber. And it's been dominant. Wild Sting has only lost one match this entire season, and that was when they tipped over with about a minute left. As a Hall of Fame team, they bring in years of championship experience and a robot that backs it up. Now, next up, not to be mistaken with our trademark Best of the West food reviews, next up is their tie-dye pals 2122 Team Taters from my hometown of Boise, Idaho. Taters have had a history of improving over the season, and this one is no exception. 2122 won the Arizona North, Idaho, and Utah regionals this season, bringing more confidence in driving and a more capable bot to each one. I anticipate they've probably made some changes from just last couple weeks in Utah and bringing that into Houston. They're fielding a swerve robot with dual side pickers a la 254, and while they have no turret, they're able to shoot from a variety of positions across the field using an adjustable hood. They've also been on Einstein 3 out of the last 4 championships, so I expect them ready to add a 4th appearance to their resume. Joining them is 3015 Ranger Robotics from Spencerport, New York, who won the Buckeye Regional and were finalists at Tech Valley. One of the more unique robots I'm going to discuss tonight, their robot has the capability to shoot 2 cargo at once while picking from either side. Last time there was one championship, in 2016, they finished as finalists overall. Between their dual shooters and simple hook and reach climber, they'll be looking to touch that Einstein carpet once again. Now, the last but certainly not least of our contenders that I'm going to discuss tonight is 1986 Team Titanium out of Lee's Summit, Missouri. 1986 ranked second and won both their events this season at Greater Kansas City and Green Country. Similar to 2910, they have a spry, small swerve robot with a fixed shooter but range from across the field. With their low profile, they're able to dance around defense, which is sure to be an advantage on this field. This mean green machine definitely has the chance to go far. Now, before I open it up for discussion, I want to mention 2 teams that you may not have seen right away when you looked at Newton. The first is 4206, the RoboVikes out of Fort Worth, Texas. They won both their district events. They were finished as finalists at South Florida and were finalists on their division at the Texas District Championship. They weren't afraid to play defense while they were chasing down cargo, and on more than one occasion, they knocked eventual champions 148 off course. With the right alliance, I think they could go far too. Our final dark horse is a personal favorite of mine, 2486, the Coconuts from Flagstaff, Arizona. They were finalist captains at 2 of their regionals this season, including losing Utah in an incredibly close tiebreaker to 2122, who we talked about earlier. Never underestimate a team with something to prove, and the Coconuts are a well-rounded team with a versatile robot, able to swerve around defense and climb consistently. Those attributes make up all the ingredients they need to go nuts in playoffs. Now, of course, there are teams I haven't mentioned with the crazy depth of this division. I'm excited to see who else rises up the ranks this weekend and makes a name for themselves here on Newton. As for a prediction, I really can't make an argument against Team 27 Rush. My take, they're going to pick up 973 as a powerful first pick, going for that strong tank drive. 2910 has an amazing swerve, and I think they're going to be quite a challenge, but I really can see 27 and 973 together.
Well, thanks, Grace. Great insight into this division on there. Of course, we'll keep our roundtable discussions going. Tassif, let's start with you. How do you feel about this division on Newton?
Yeah, so I actually agree with Grace's prediction about 27 and 973 picking, I guess, each other, actually, even if 973 is ranked 1. Rush has been really well this year, especially winning their district championship. 973 also being a strong contender from winning Worlds in 2019, and Jack in the Box 2910 also is just a great robot all around as well. So I agree with Grace's prediction and analysis. I'm actually excited to watch the division, so it'll be fun.
Steve, how about you? What are your thoughts on the Newton division?
Yeah, man. I mean, Newton looks really tough. It looks like a great division. Every one of these divisions looks great, but I tend to agree with them. Rush and Greybots are both right up there. I mean, they're literally 0.2 OPR difference between those two teams. And I mean, Rush has just dominated all season long. They've won a blue banner at every single event they've been to, including a regional, including MSC last weekend. So I do look for them to finish first, but it's really going to come down to their match schedules and who their alliance partners are. If one or the other has a harder match schedule, they're going to maybe slip in those rankings and end up I still think they'll pick each other, but we'll end up seeing how that goes. 2910 is always, I think, going to be really strong, and their swerve is, obviously one of the best around, and they've been kind of known for that. So I look to see them do really well. Those are the top 3 in my book. They're all above 65, 66 OPR. And I look for them to all really compete for that top spot. But I think the top 2 have the edge.
Yeah, for me, 2910, I've been a huge fan of for a really long time. And, last time they played at championships, they got knocked in the quarters, which was a very early exit for them, obviously. But 973, it's so hard to ignore the power that team brings with their robot as well, too. So it'll be very interesting to see where it is. A couple teams I just want to mention. By the way, Grace, I love your dark horses, especially 4206. I think is a very well-deserved mention on their team that did so well at the First in Texas Championship and could have been the number 1 pick even by the Alliance on the field by 6,800 potentially. I mean, I don't know how you pick 140 or how you don't pick 140 in that, but potential nonetheless. A few teams, speaking about Texas, a couple, I think, big teams that weren't mentioned in this. Spectrum 3847 won their division in Houston. Do they have improvements to make? Absolutely. So I could see them potentially falling under just that contender spot. And then 3005 Robochargers, who was selected by the number 1 seed 3310 in the in the division that they lost to 3847 as well too. So those are a couple teams that stand out to me. But overall, very nice job talking about the Newton division. Let's keep moving on. Once again, chat, let us know where you think on there. Oh yeah, one other team to mention, 3339 Bumblebee. By the way, I did have them on my list here. Danny, thank you for mentioning that. Bumblebee is a team once again from Israel that they're not at that elite level right now, but they're really close, and it'd be very interesting to see where they fit in on the divisions as well too. So Roebling's up next. Tussy, if you're going to be covering Roebling, break us down on what's going into this awesome division.
Yeah, so Roebling's pretty stacked this year. So for a bit of history, actually, Roebling was named after John A. Roebling, who was a German-American civil engineer in the 1800s, and he designed and built wire rope suspension bridges, which is pretty neat. So the Roebling division was first introduced into First Championship in the 2017 season, and the division actually won Einstein's the same year. But then since then, it hasn't really made it to the Einstein finals field. But I think this year it might have a chance, especially with the top 2 locks that I have. But the 2022 Roebling division has 76 teams with an average OPR of 35.10, which is the second highest OPR under the Newton, which has a 35.32 OPR. And the funny thing is, Roebling division has the lowest max OPR actually, which is a 67.57 from team 6800 Valor, which I find quite interesting. But that leads me straight into my first lock, which is 6800 Valor. We saw them play really well at Texas State's in week 6, becoming ranked 1 of their division and winning it with 148 and their other alliance partners. They have a great mobility, especially with their L4 swerve modules, which you should only use on a light robot, and their robot's pretty light. They have a fast traversal climb, and they also have a really accurate shooting as well. And also, if you want to get to know more about the robots, there's actually behind the bumpers on them on YouTube. And another Texas team that I have for my second lock, lead after Valor, is 3310 Blackhawk Robotics. They were the Mercury division finalists at state championship. They also are using swerve, and they have a very accurate shooting. And I was surprised that they didn't win the Mercury division. Everyone, I believe, favored them to win it with their alliance partners, Robochargers. But due to the red card they received in their finals match, they weren't able to make it. But nonetheless, they are still a really good robot. They were 2019 world finalists with 254, and I expect them to bring the same attitude they had in 2019, making it to probably Einstein Field, and it would be really great to see them. There's also behind the bumpers on them also available on YouTube, so make sure to check that out. The third lock I have is 5895 Petty Robotics. They were the winners of the first Mid-Atlantic District Championship, and they are a tank drive. But they're still able. They also have a mid-run climb, but nonetheless, they were able to have a very accurate shooting, and they played really, really well in all their competitions, and they are able to get a max OPR of 60.5 as a tank drive and a mid-run climb. I say that's a pretty good OPR to have for having a bot like that. Now, heading into the contenders, I have 4 contenders, and the first one I have is 17-6 Aces High, who were the first picks in the titanium division of the New England First District Championship, and they won it with their alliance partners. They have a turret shooter, traversal climb, and they were able to bring it up in their competitions. with their alliance partners, they were able to have scores over 100 points, and they were able to dominate. They had a rank of they were third rank in their division, and they had a record of 16-2, but went undefeated in playoffs and went undefeated in their division versus division in the New England competition. And now, which leads me straight to actually my second contender, 230 Gale Hawks, which was also in the New England First District Championship. They ranked first and were winners of their division, their Calcium division, but they went up against Aces High and they lost, but they still were really, really good. They played amazing defense and have a really good far shot from the truss. And I feel like that will be very important, because if you're able to shoot from the truss up against that launch pad, if a robot touches you, you get penalty points for it. So having a far shot like that is really nice. And they also are able to climb pretty high, which is a really good thing. I feel like climbing will be another thing that's going to decide a match. The third contender I have is 5490 Bread. They were a first pick and winners in the Monterey Bay Regional and finalists of the Central Valley Regional. They have they're a swerve bot. They have a two-sided intake, so they're able to pick up balls if they're on either side of their bot, which swerve will help a lot with that. They also have a turret shooter, which seeing teams like Valor having a turret shooter, just shooting from anywhere in any orientation your bot is at, it's be very fun to see how they do. They also have a 5-ball auto, which auto can also be a decision maker, knowing that points are doubled in auto. They also played up a really good matchup in the Central Valley Regional against 973 and 1323 in the finals matches, which was really exciting to watch. In finals match 1, they were only 15 points away, but nonetheless, they played really, really well. And I'm excited to see them bring the same performance that they did to Worlds. Last contender I have is 67, the Hot Team, who were ranked first at their Milford event, first pick and winners at the Troy event, and they're ranked second in the DTE and Energy division. They didn't do well in their district championship, but nonetheless, they have a swerve bot, another two-sided intake, and a fast shooter. And I feel like even though they didn't have a really good time this season, they did win one competition, but I feel like they still will be able to bring some competition to the field. Now, the two dark horses I have, I'm going to start with 7457 Super Duper Robotics. They were ranked first in their district, in their Columbus event, and in a Tippecanoe event, and they're winners at both of those events. And they have a really fast shooter and a fast traversal climb, and they were also finalists in their Indiana State Championship. So bring the energy. They have a good chance of being picked by one of the top 8s. Another dark horse is 359 Hawaiian Kids. They were finalists in 2 regionals and winners at 2 other regionals. They went to 4 regionals this year, which is insane. And they also have a two-sided intake, traversal climb, fast shooter. They have a lot of awards under their belts, and I'm excited to see what they do at this division. But overall, I believe 1600 and 3310 will pull a 2019 Roebling division and have 2 Texas teams in their lines and win in the division. In 2019, we had 148 Robo Wranglers and Spectrum who won the division, and those are Texas teams, so I think that's going to happen again. 6800 and 3310 never played together nor against each other this entire season. So it's going to be really fun to see those 2 big Texas powerhouse teams play against each other and together. And it's going to be really fun to watch. But overall, this division is pretty stacked. I have some high hopes for all the teams that are competing, and I'm excited to see what goes on the field.
Well, thanks, Hasif. Once again, covering the Roebling division. This is going to be my list of dark horse division for sure, but we'll let the other hosts chime in first on that. Grace, let's head it over to you. How you feeling about Roebling? Who's on your radar?
I definitely see 6,800 and 3310 with the potential to team up together. Never underestimate the power of teaming with someone or someone from your area of the world.
I thought you were going to say Abacopioli, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but you said it first. 67, the hot team has a history of success. They're really good. Petty Robotics has been amazing since they were rookies. I think we were on the same field as them their rookie year at Champs. And they were crazy. Hawaiian Kids, I would call them a contender. They're amazing. They won, I believe we won Utah with them this year. Cheaters did. And so they're great. Mean Machine, another good P&W team. They've been a little behind this year, but I could see them stepping it up at Champs as well.
Steve, how about you? What are your thoughts on Roebling?
Yeah, so Roebling, obviously Valor and Blackhawk Robotics are probably the top two, but don't count out Hot Team. 67 is one of the best teams in the world. They, I think, have better, more stiff competition here in Michigan. Their first competition this week, this year they started off slow. They did not perform to their capability. They went out in the quarters, but since that time, they ranked really high at Troy, were picked by Rush and won that event. They ranked second at MSC on the DTE field, which was consensus the most difficult field at MSC, and unfortunately got knocked out in quarters due to just some stellar defense by 42-37. So I would say a couple of other robots that I had noticed. Super Purdue Robotics was one of those super duper.
Yep.
Yeah, was one of those ones that I had seen throughout the year a little bit during recap that had performed really well. Biting Bulldogs is, I think, maybe a dark horse. I don't know if you'd kind of put them between contender and dark horse.
I can see dark horse.
35-39 from Romeo, Michigan. They won the Greater Pittsburgh Regional with Rush, and then they teamed with the Killer Bees to win the Ford division at MSC and lost in the semis, lost in the semis of the Fimstein. They really gave that number one alliance, the ultimate winning alliance, all they could handle. So, and then Hawaiian Kids, I agree with Grace there. Very good team. So Gale Hawks, I know Steve mentioned Gale Hawks. They're always perennial contenders. So this is a good division. I'm looking forward to it. I think that Hot Team's going to surprise people and rank first, and they're going to end up scorching one of the two, Valor or Blackhawks, or they're going to end up with them. So that's
a bold take. I like, yeah. I like the bold take.
You're just rooting for your Michigan teams, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I got my Michigan State championship shirt on.
Fair enough. As mentioned, there's a whole bunch of teams here to me that stand out that could really go in. First, starting on top, I think 176 is a lock. I would take them over 58.95. Nothing against them at all, but 176 to me has just been absolutely incredible. Every single competition I've seen them play on there. Another team that I put into the contender spot, 340 Greater Rochester Robotics, is a team that hasn't really played for a couple of weeks, so I think they might be flying under the radar for that. But their events they played in, especially after their first day of their first event, they have been absolutely on fire for things. Some dark horse teams. Let's talk about 1923 Midnight Inventors. Strange, in my opinion, that they were picked as the last robot, essentially, even though they have some win under their belt prior as well too. But that blew my mind that they fell that far for that. 41-43 Mars Wars is another team, great differential sword drive that they use. That once again, a team that kind of falls under the radar compared to like an Argos or Roboteers, that sort of area. For things. 4260, speaking about dark horses, 4265 Secret City Wallbots. How this team is still a secret befuddles me. They're a team that has been winning many events recently, so I definitely could see them in a dark horse position. Steve, I'll mention Team Michigan. 4362 Gems is another team that they fell as a number 7 alliance captain. I know they declined, ended up number 7, won. Were they the ones that beat Hot? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
they
So I
were.
mean, so be hot in that with a great alliance, and definitely could have been picked up earlier, in my opinion. Even though they did have a couple issues in qual, so I can understand it. 7407 Wired Boars has been looking really, really good this year, as well too. So shout out to them. And then how about Rembrandt's 4481 team, returning world champion, everybody.
Yeah.
That from 2019. I know it's 3 years ago, but from 2019. But a team that I think will work on improvement a lot. It's a team that I think in the early on, really high end team from that, but I think they plateaued a little bit. But I'm looking forward to see what they can bring at championships as well too. So overall, great recap on that. Once again, that's Roebling division. Guess what? We're going into Turing. We're almost wrapping up on here. Don't forget, stick around afterwards. We do have the FRC Top 25 pre-champs. I know it's 25, and that's what we'll be focusing mostly on. But, man, you got to focus on the 50 when we show you 26 through 52, because with only one champs, it is pretty insane as we go through. So make sure you stick around for that. And we're also going to have a giveaway in just a little bit by our friends at the Thrifty Bot. But before we do that, Steve, you're covering Turing division. Man, I'd love to see all the divisions are stacked, but Turing, holy crap, man. Let's run through Turing, and who do you have in this division?
Yeah, and at the last minute there, you mentioned two teams that I wanted to mention and didn't. I felt like I was going too long. So Gems and Rembrandt's that division's stacked too. But Turing division, man, Turing division is stacked and an extremely deep division here at this year's first championship in Houston. Looking at all the divisions, they, of course, are all stacked. Even though this may have the lowest OPR of the 6 divisions, it's a division that's very heavy at the top and stacked with talent from around the world, with 26 district event winners, 7 district championship winners, and 7 regional winners as a captain, as well as 7 as a first pick. It's going to be a brutal battle for whoever makes it out of this division to compete on Einstein. Turing hasn't fared the best when it comes to Einstein, however, going 0-10 in 2017 and 2018, but then 5-0 in 2019 before losing in the finals. The autonomous period should be high flying, with 13 different teams winning 17 autonomous awards this season. Endgame should be pretty exciting, with 2 teams with 94% traversal climb rates over the entire 22 season. That's like 1 missed climb over the entire season for 2 different teams. And 10 of them have over a 75 traversal climb rate, and that was traversal climbs, the 94%. Scores should be plenty high too, with over 25% of the field averaging over 10 cargo per match in the upper hub. Getting into my locks for this week, it was pretty obvious choice who was my first lock, with 1577 Steampunk from Ra'anana, Israel. I hope I said that right. I even looked up the pronunciation, but I probably still botched it. Having been part of some of the most high-scoring matches in the world and having the highest OPR on the field, they did win both of their ISR district events and the Israel District Championship. However, all 3 events were with partners 1690, including an 191-point qualification match at the district championship. Are they strong enough to stand on their own? Well, they ranked second to 1690 at both ISR district events. However, it was 1577 that was the number 1 seed at the Israel District Championship. We'll see this weekend, but I think there's certainly a lock to finish in a picking position in the top of the heap. Up next, I have Team 2056 OP Robotics from Stony Creek, Ontario, Canada. This legendary team started off a little slow, ranking 5th at the Ontario District at the University of Waterloo, but turned it up, winning both the St. Mary's CSS District and the Ontario District Championship, both with partners 1114 Symbotics, who are not on this field. Like 1577, can they show they're still locks without their favorite partners? I can absolutely envision a pairing of 1577 and 2056 to overpower and steamroll the field at champs. My final lock of this field is Team 971 Spartan Robotics from Mountain View, California, who, despite not having a blue banner this season, has 15 of them in their history, including a first championship win in 2009 and winning the Galileo division in 2019. They lost their first regional in the finals this season by a combined score of 6 points, followed by the misfortune of facing 1678 and 254 at the Silicon Valley Regional in the finals and losing in 2 matches there, despite putting up a hell of a fight in a Spartan effort. My list of contenders is extremely strong as well, starting off with Team 5172, the Gators from Greenbush, Minnesota, winners of the Northern Lights Regional and the Great Northern Regional, where they ranked first at both events and only lost one match between the two events combined. Winners of 7 blue banners in their short 9-year history, with their first blue banner in only their 3rd season, is definitely a team to watch out for. Next up is a team that easily could have been in my locks, and that is 44-14 High Tide from Ventura, California. Winners of the Hinemy, I forget how to say that word, Port Regional, the Venturi County Regional, and the Aerospace Valley Regional this year. With a combined record of 48, 4, and 1, they ranked in the top 3 at all 3 events and swept through the playoffs with their alliance partners at all 3 as well. I consider them to be a top contender for the top half of the picking teams and a team to watch out for come playoffs. They sure know how to build a winning alliance. Up next is a team that has been a contender for as long as I can remember, and that's Team 125, the Neutrons from Boston, Massachusetts. They were winners at the North Shore District and Greater Boston District events out of the New England District this season. With 20 event-winning blue banners, tons of Chairman's Awards and Woody Flowers Award winners, this is a team steeped in history. They've won their field at First Championship twice and taken home the Ultimate Blue Banner for a First World Championship once as well. So they know what it takes to win. They've got a great traversal climb and a well-rounded robot to compete at the highest level on this touring field this week. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. For the next 2 contender picks, we're swinging up to the Mitten State, where it was so hard to pick just a couple of these teams. With 8 of the top 15s and teams in OPR being from Michigan, had a hard time not picking more Michigan teams to be contenders or locks. Up first, I have Team 33, the Killer Bees from Auburn Hills, Michigan. This team got better and better as the year went on and still walked away with 3 blue banners this season, winning at every event they were at. They ended up on Fimstein, losing to the eventual state champion Alliance in the semifinals. With a whopping 34 blue banners in their history, this team absolutely knows how to compete and win at the highest level, having won a division at First Champs 3 times and an MSC and winning MSC an insane 6 times, including 4 in a row from 2009 to 2012. They've also won their field at MSC an additional 2 more times than that. While their OPR has them at 11th on the field, don't let that fool you, as they're really hitting their stride now and playing their best rapid react of the season. For more info on this amazing robot, check out the Behind the Bumpers and Mic'd Up Behind the Glass that Tyler did this past weekend. Up next, I've got 3357, the Comets from Grand Rapids, Michigan. The Comets won their first 2 district events this season at Calvin University and Muskegon, but were upset in the semis at Kentwood. At MSC, they lost to the Alliance, captained by the Killer Bees, in the finals in 2 pretty close matches, losing by a total of 23 points combined. 3357's robot has the most consistent climb in the division with a whopping 94% traversal rate, with one other robot having that same rate, but a considerably lower average total score. The Comets can score in auto, they can score big in teleop in the high goal, and they hit that climb. If we're going to see a triple traversal on touring, my guess is that the Comets will be a part of it. Finally, for a few dark horses, I'll start us off with Team 2383, the Ninjineers from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They were winners at the Las Vegas Regional this year and have been steadily improving event to event. They lost in the semis at the South Florida Regional, in the finals of the Orlando Regional, before ranking first and winning the Las Vegas Regional. With a max OPR of 38.9, it puts them behind some powerhouse teams, but could definitely be a good pickup on an alliance looking for a team on the rise. My next dark horse of the touring division is Team 4089 Stealth Robotics from Duval, Washington in the Pacific Northwest District. This team won both their districts and were the first pick of the Alliance 5 in the PNW District Championship, where they unfortunately lost in the quarterfinals. My last dark horse is a pretty well-known team, and they've won 8 blue banners in their history, including this year at the Southern Cross Regional. They haven't won a division at First Champs yet. They are a Hall of Fame team as of last year and have been building some pretty awesome robots for years. They've only competed at 1 event and had an OPR of 37, which puts them in the upper third of all teams on touring, and that is the Barker Redbacks, 4613. Finally, a couple more teams to watch that I couldn't fit into my existing categories. Team 503 Frog Force was a winner on the Aptive field at MSC. Team 2468 Team Appreciate, winners of the Austin District and First and Texas District Championship this year. And 5460 Strike Zone, who's been one of the most consistent top-end teams this season in Michigan and were finalists at MSC this past weekend. Their average OPR over all of the events has consistently been in the 45 range. I'm super excited to watch how touring and all the divisions play out. If you're down in Houston, say hi. I'll be at the meetup Friday and wandering around the pits and stands, watching matches all weekend long. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, real quick. Well, you mentioned Steve. Just a reminder for everybody, if you're interested, we do have a meetup at the Houston Championships, along with the FRC Discord as well too. So we're very excited to have that. We will have some details very soon. I just got texted some, but I'll respond to that once we get to it. But it will be on Friday at 11 a.m. local time. So we'd love to have you. If you can hop out for just a little bit, come say hi. A few fun hosts will be there. Some people from the FRC Discord, and we do have some giveaways as well too. So come say hi for that. Lastly, before we wind up this division, let's start our second giveaway from our friends at the Thrifty Bot, who once again have some just amazing things that your team just might need to accompany your incredible robots. So great keyword from our friend Ryan Donio, who also might be at the meetup, I hear. So we'll see if he's there. Very thrifty, 2 words. Very thrifty is what they like to say at the Thrifty Bot. Type that in. That's your opportunity to win a $25 gift card. It doesn't have to be in caps, but I know he likes it in caps. So very thrifty. If you type that in, we'll draw in just a few minutes. All right, so with that said, as we wind up our division previews, don't forget, if you're watching live, FRC Top 25 will be coming up after this in just a little bit. But let's talk about touring. Grace, who's on your list for the touring division that either Steve did or did not grab?
Yeah, man, it's like, who isn't on my list
know,
for the
right?
touring division? It's crazy. I didn't realize how crazy it was until Steve started talking. 5406, Celtex from Ontario are amazing. They won both their district events and were semifinalists at their district champs. Gotta love the Neutrons, OP Robotics, 4414, 971. I mean, I just keep going. 1577, of course, I think is a great choice on the top of the division.
I agree.
They've just been incredible this season, and so I'm excited to see them. The Engineers. I mean, it's crazy. I'm just looking down the list, and I need to stop talking so that we can move on.
Fair enough. Tassif, how are you feeling about this division?
Honestly, I feel the exact same way that Grace put it out. The top 3 locks Steve mentioned, I don't think it's going to be like that. I feel like it's going to be mixed around. 971 has a great history. 2056 has a great history. Steampunks have a great history. All these teams have a great history, especially the Bees, 4414. It's going to be hard to figure out who's actually going to be the top 8 from this list. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. To be honest, all these divisions are exciting to watch, and I'm excited what happens at Worlds, especially on Einstein Field.
Grace, I'm glad you mentioned 5406 because I would be remiss if I did not as well, and especially for those who remember 3 years ago when I said they would probably be out. I didn't say they'd probably be, but I predicted they'd be out in quarters, and they were world finalists. So I'm not going to bet against them again on something like that. So big thing. I want to shout out a team that I think could be a definite dark horse, definitely has flown under the radar, is 2539 Krypton Cougars coming out of the FMA area. I was just about to say MAR. I've been training myself to say FMA, First Mid-Atlantic, instead. But yeah, definitely a great team there. But yeah, overall, I think the picks and teams that are mentioned were really good. I have to admit, I'm a little more bearish on Comets after seeing them at MSC. I mean, they were really, really good. They were one of my favorite teams in the beginning, but I'm worried they plateaued a little bit because they're one of the teams that were able to shoot really far back, but it looks like they really haven't sped up their cycle times at all since I saw them in week 1 almost for things. So I'm hoping they can get it going, and I hope they do. But to me, if I had to swap out a team, that would probably be where I'd swap out for something like that as well. But great division, great previews. Once again, this will be up on YouTube. I will have this up tonight for those who are watching live after the FRC Top 25. Make sure you stick around for that as well, too. Be starting in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we do have to draw for our giveaway for, once again, our friends at the Thrifty Bot for a $25 Thrifty Bot gift card. Once again, if you win, please just send me your name and email, and we will take care of that as soon as we can. I'm heading out for champs very soon, so we'll get that out to you as soon as we can. The winner, T Steel 3739. Congratulations for winning the $25 gift card from our friends at the Thrifty Bot. And thanks a lot to Andy Mark and the Thrifty Bot. And of course, our other 2 suppliers who do giveaways, Rev Robotics and Vex Pro. Rev did one yesterday. We have Vex Pro gift card to give away during the FRC Top 25. So before we wrap real quick on here, any last things we want to say before we head in the FRC Top 25? We do a quick roundtable. Grace, we'll start with you.
Come to the FRC Discord meetup. We've been planning it. We've been working hard. We have some really cool stuff. And I do have an online meetup in the works that I will get hopefully information out for. It'll be Saturday morning-ish during LIMS as kind of a watch party for that. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
All right, Tussif. Oh, you're muted! Exclamation mute in chat.
There, I'm not muted. Okay. I was looking at the stream, but yeah, I wish I could be at Worlds. I wish I could be there. I'm probably gonna watch it instead of doing my exams. But it's so intense, and Einstein, I know for a fact, is gonna be insane. All the divisions, I think the divisions are actually pretty even. There's of course some divisions that are like insane, but I think when it goes to Einstein's, it might be pretty even, and it'll be really, really fun to watch how things are going to go out.
Steve?
Yeah, I can't wait for Einstein. The entire week, though, is going to be great. Oh, no, first, before I say anything else.
All right.
So rigged.
Everything.
Everything's rigged. But yeah, no, I can't wait for Einstein. It's going to be a great week. I'm really looking forward. I'm going to be bouncing back and forth probably between Newton and Turing the most because my team is on Newton and Turing is the one I covered. So I'm kind of familiar with it now. And I really want to see how that shakes out. But honestly, I'm going to be bouncing around to all the fields and through all the pits and trying to do shirt trades and trying to meet all these new people. So if you see me wandering around, say hi. I love to meet all you guys. And yeah, I'm super excited for Champs. I've never been to Houston. I would prefer that it was in Detroit, but it'll be nice. Hey, I prefer it's in Houston this year because we got snow outside right now. And in Houston, it's like 85. So I'll take that.
There you go. Yeah, I'll speak more during FRC Top 25, but Mike and I, with other fun hosts, will be around. But Mike and I will be doing a lot of behind the bumpers, and so you'll see us a lot of times in the pits or on the field. Please come say hi. I will always look like I'm working. I will tell you that ahead of time. Don't be afraid to come up and say hi. Love to take pictures, selfies, autographs, whatever you prefer for stuff like that. Absolutely love meeting people and talking robots. So please come say hi for those things. But thanks again to everybody. And of course, our 6 correspondents that have come up today, and the last 3, Grace, Tussif, and Steve, for giving us more information on division previews. FRC Top 25 coming up in just a moment. Make sure you stand by if you're watching live. Otherwise, of course, we'll have this up on YouTube. And don't forget to watch the entire World Championship at thebluelines.com. Right on game day, we can watch all 6 divisions taking place at once. And thanks again to everybody for their support. It really does help. We'll see you next time on Fun. Talk to you then. And if you're watching live, FRC Top 25 coming up in a second. Stand by.